Which communist federation centered on Russia was founded in 1922 and dissolved in 1991? Soviet Union. What are the tiny organisms floating in the ocean that form the base of the marine food chain? Plankton. What was the chemical substance discovered by accident in the 19th century that became the first artificial sweetener 300 times sweeter than sugar? Saccharin. Which sport, also held at the ancient Olympics, involves two people grappling on a mat to overpower each other with strength and technique? Wrestling. Which South American country is known for samba and football and contains the heart of the Amazon? Brazil. Which country, home to the Statue of Liberty, is a global center of economy and culture? United States. What is the lightest element in the universe that fuels stars through nuclear fusion? Hydrogen. What is the highest waterfall in the world? Angel Falls. Which country performed the first implantation of an artificial heart? United States. Why do cats purr in their throats? Comfort and healing effect. Which finger's nail grows the fastest? Middle finger. What is the most widely used cooking oil in the world? Palm oil. Who invented the first telescope? Hans Lippershey. Which tropical African country experiences the most lightning in the world, where equatorial rains call forth storms? Democratic Republic of the Congo. What is the primary organ humans use to perceive taste? Tongue. In which country is the oldest pyramid located? Egypt. Which large Central Asian country, home to the Baikonur Cosmodrome, is the world's largest landlocked nation? Kazakhstan. What is the economic phenomenon that reduces the value of money and causes prices to soar? Inflation. Which part of the human body has the thickest skin? Sole of the foot. Which company developed the world's first digital camera? Kodak. Which country developed the world's first maglev train, the homeland of trains that fly without rails? Japan. Which Southeast Asian country, home to Halong Bay's emerald waters, is known as the Kingdom of Rice Noodles? Vietnam. How long does sunlight take to reach the Earth? About 8 minutes 20 seconds. What was the Soviet artificial satellite that first reached Earth's orbit and opened the space age for humanity? Sputnik 1. Which blue ice giant in the solar system rotates on its side? Uranus. Which country bore the greatest responsibility and was required to pay reparations after World War I? Germany. What was the world's first antibiotic, the substance that began the era of drugs that kill bacteria? Penicillin. What is the second highest mountain in the world? K2. What substance is mainly stored in a camel's hump? Fat. How far does light travel in 1 second? About 300,000 kilometers. What was the first plastic ever invented? Celluloid. Which insect species has the largest wingspan? Atlas moth. Who is known as the father of microbiology, the French scientist who developed the rabies vaccine and pasteurization of milk? Louis Pasteur. Around 105 BC, which country was the first in the world to make paper? China. What is the triangular landform created where a river flows into the sea and deposits sediment? Delta. Which frog, living in tropical rainforests and displaying bright colors to warn of toxicity, was used by indigenous people to poison arrow tips? Poison dart frog. Along which longitude does the international dateline generally run? (180°). Which planet in the solar system is the hottest, covered by thick clouds of a toxic atmosphere and rotating in the opposite direction? Venus. What is the name of the star closest to the Sun, a red dwarf shining in the constellation Centaurus? Proxima Centauri. Which plain is famous for its vast tropical savanna? Serengeti Plain. Which letter in Morse code has the shortest symbol? E. Approximately what percentage of the Earth's atmosphere is nitrogen? About 78%. What was the first commercial jet airliner? Comet. What was the first device to record and play back sound? Phonograph. Which region, called the Devil's Triangle, and the site of numerous disappearances that spawned mysteries, is this? Bermuda. In what year was the International Monetary Fund, IMF, officially established? Year 1945. Which bustling South Asian capital of Bangladesh, full of mosques and markets, is this? Dhaka. What is the world's largest coral reef system? A brilliant marine treasure off the coast of Australia visible even from space. Great Barrier Reef. Which two Cambridge scientists revealed the double helix structure of DNA? Watson and Crick. Which lake is the deepest in the world, reaching a maximum depth of about 1,642 meters? Lake Baikal. Which civilization was the first in the world to mint and use metal coinage? Lydia. What is the main cause of Earth's rotational slowdown? Tidal friction. What was the shortest war in history that ended in 38 minutes between Britain and an African island nation? Anglo-Zanzibar War. Which romantic capital, home to the Eiffel Tower and the Louvre, is the heart of France? Paris. Which volcanic island in Italy, called the Lighthouse of the Mediterranean, for its nightly red lava, is this? Stromboli. What is the neural connection that transmits signals between neurons and helps information flow in the brain? Synapse. During a solar eclipse, what is the hot, colorful crown-shaped outer atmosphere that surrounds the Sun called? Corona. Which city hosted the first headquarters of the World Health Organization, WHO? Geneva. What is the largest tropical rainforest in the world, the vast green heart of South America and a treasure trove of biodiversity? Amazon. Which alkaloid gives chocolate its bitterness, is toxic to dogs, and whose name means, food of the gods? Theobromine. What is the Einstein effect that makes time pass more slowly the closer you move to the speed of light? Time dilation. Which French tale tells the story of a blonde boy who tends a rose on an asteroid and travels among the stars? The Little Prince. What is the lightest gas in the Earth's atmosphere? Hydrogen. What is known as the oldest metal wind instrument? Cornu. Who is the genius who changed the world with the theory of relativity and explored the speed of light? Albert Einstein. Which large organ in our body detoxifies poisons, stores energy, and aids digestion? Liver. Which Portuguese explorer led the first circumnavigation of the globe and is credited with discovering the Pacific Ocean? Ferdinand Magellan. What is the world's largest hot desert, the vast sea of sand that crosses Africa? Sahara Desert. Which planet in the solar system is the hottest due to the greenhouse effect? Venus. What physical quantity, defined as the product of an object's mass and velocity, represents the persistence of motion? Momentum. What do you call an airplane that flies faster than the speed of sound? Supersonic aircraft. Which of Shakespeare's plays mixes romance and tragedy and depicts the love and fate of young lovers? Romeo and Juliet. Who is the French author of The Little Prince? Antoine de Saint-Exupéry. Which composer wrote the opera, The Magic Flute? Mozart. What is the longest river in the world? The Nile. What are the additive primary colors of light? Red, green, blue. Which artist sculpted The Thinker? Auguste Rodin. Which main UN body is responsible for maintaining international peace? The United Nations Security Council. What is the largest organ in the human body? Skin. Which Russian chemist first created the periodic table? Mendeleev. Which metal is the best conductor of electricity? Silver. Prince Hamlet, the protagonist of Shakespeare's Hamlet, is the prince of which country? Denmark. What do the 5 colors of the Olympic rings symbolize? The 5 continents. What massive architectural structures were used as tombs for kings in ancient Egypt? Pyramids. How many minutes is each half in a standard football, soccer, match? 45 minutes. In Roman mythology, who is the goddess of love? Venus. What is the highest mountain range in the world? The Himalayas. What structure is present in plant cells but absent in animal cells? Cell wall. In which year did the French Revolution begin? Year 1789. How often are the Olympic Games held? Every 4 years. By approximately how many degrees is the Earth's rotational axis tilted? About 23.5 degrees. Who led India's non-violent resistance movement and is often called the father of the nation? Mahatma Gandhi. Which German luxury writing instrument brand is named after the highest peak of the Alps? Mont Blanc. What is the symbolic mark representing a brand's identity, like Mont Blanc's White Star? Logo. How many keys does a piano have in total? 88 keys. Which is the smallest country in the world, located within Rome and ruled by the Pope as head of state? Vatican City. Which grain is produced in the greatest quantity worldwide? Corn, maize. Approximately how many times does an adult blink per day on average? About 15,000 times. Which country is the only one in the world with a non-rectangular national flag? Nepal. What is the hardest natural substance among gemstones? Diamond. Which continent is the coldest on Earth? Antarctica. What is the approximate recommended daily water intake for an adult? About 2 liters. Which is the largest continent on Earth? Asia. Which small independent state, located within Italy, is considered the world's oldest republic? San Marino. Which small Mediterranean state is famous for its Formula One Grand Prix and casinos? Monaco. Which country has the highest per capita coffee consumption? Finland. Which is the largest island in the world? Greenland. What is the name of the island where Napoleon was exiled? Saint Helena. What is the primary active compound in coffee that causes stimulant effects? Caffeine. Which is the largest ocean in the world? The Pacific Ocean. In which city is the United Nations headquarters located? New York. In which country was paper money first used? China. How many legs does a spider have in total? 8. At what time of day is the temperature usually the lowest? Just before sunrise. Approximately how many days is the average lifespan of a housefly? About 30 days. Which country in South America has the largest territory? Brazil. Which country was the first in the world to begin regular television broadcasting? The United Kingdom. What is the world's most expensive spice made from the red stigmas of the crocus flower? Saffron. Which queen led the Golden Age of the British Empire and reigned for 63 years? Queen Victoria. Which continent uniquely has no recorded rainfall throughout certain interior areas? Antarctica. Who was the longest reigning British monarch who led the Commonwealth for 70 years? Elizabeth II. What is the massive body of ice that is melting due to climate change and is often called Earth's refrigerator? Glacier. What pigment determines human skin color? Melanin. Which planet in the solar system has the most natural satellites? Saturn. What is the best-selling book in the world? The Bible. What spice, known as the king of spices and once as valuable as gold in medieval times, is native to India? Pepper. Which galaxy is the only one visible to the naked eye from Earth besides the Milky Way? The Andromeda Galaxy. What are the hard structures that support our body and store calcium? Bones. What is the place in deserts or arid regions where groundwater or springs gather, creating an area with water and plants? Oasis. What is the evergreen tree native to Australia, beloved by koalas and known for its fragrant leaves? Eucalyptus. Which world-renowned Paris art repository, once used as a French royal palace and home to the Mona Lisa's smile, is this? Louvre Museum. Which United Nations organization protects the world's cultural and natural heritage? UNESCO. What political system, established in Rome in 509 BC, ended the monarchy and was governed by citizens? Republic. What is the river with the greatest volume of water in the world, the lifeline of South America? Amazon River. Who was the person who first invented the steam engine? James Watt. What sweet treat made from cocoa, which was also used as currency by the Maya civilization, is this? Chocolate. What is the palm tree from the Seychelles famous for its forbidden fruit and buttock-shaped seeds? Coco de Mer. Among ancient civilizations, where were musical scores, notation, discovered? Sumerian civilization. What is the nationally designated protected area that conserves wildlife and nature? National Park. What is the phenomenon called when a gas changes directly into a solid? Sublimation. What was the first event to be broadcast live on television in the world? The Berlin Olympics. What is Earth's outermost layer, which is divided into multiple moving plates, called? Crust. What do you call the chemical substances secreted by endocrine glands that regulate life processes? Hormone. Greenland, the world's largest island, is an autonomous territory of which country? Denmark. Which figure led the Reign of Terror during the French Revolution and was executed by guillotine? Maximilien Robespierre. In Greek mythology, what is the name of the god who rules the underworld? Hades. What is the unit of electric current that represents the amount of charge flowing per second? Ampere. Herman Melville's Moby Dick, the tale of Captain Ahab's quest for revenge against a giant white whale, is a work from which country? United States. What is the scale that indicates the acidity or alkalinity of a solution, expressed as numbers from 0 to 14? pH. In which country is Angel Falls, the highest waterfall in the world, located? Venezuela. What do we call the cause that changes an object's state of motion or deforms its shape? Force. What hormone regulates blood sugar in the human body and, when deficient, can cause diabetes? Insulin. Why is gravity weaker on the Moon than on Earth? Because the Moon's mass is smaller. Which two continents does the Caspian Sea straddle? Europe and Asia. What is the unit of electrical resistance that indicates how much a material opposes the flow of current? Ohm. In table tennis, what do you call the action of putting the ball into play at the start of a point? Serve. In biological organization, what do we call a level composed of multiple tissue types working together to perform specific functions? Organ. The identity of a chemical element is determined by the number of protons in its nucleus. What is this number called? Atomic number. Wuthering Heights, the tragic love story of the vengeance-obsessed Heathcliff, is set in which country? United Kingdom. In music, what do you call the simultaneous sounding of multiple notes to form chords? Harmony. What law states that current is proportional to voltage and inversely proportional to resistance? Ohm's law. Which ancient Greek philosopher, a student of Socrates, wrote the Republic? Plato. What is the largest permanent ice field region in the world, located in the far north of North America? Greenland. What is the movement of particles across a cell membrane from a region of higher concentration to lower concentration called? Diffusion. In music, what do we call the simultaneous sounding of three or more tones that produces a harsh, unstable effect? Dissonance. What is the largest peninsula in the world, which includes most of the Arabian Desert? Arabian Peninsula. Which organelle, found only in plant cells, produces nutrients through photosynthesis? Chloroplast. In art, what is the technique of painting using achromatic tones such as white, gray, and black? Monochrome. Who wrote the novel Pride and Prejudice and is regarded as a pioneer of realist novels among English women writers? Jane Austen. What was the square in ancient Rome where citizens gathered and which served as the center of political and economic life? Roman Forum. What is the phenomenon in which light changes direction when passing through a transparent medium? Refraction. What do we call the water-covered portion of Earth's surface, including oceans, rivers, and lakes, excluding land? Hydrosphere. Which organelle, found only in plant cells, produces nutrients through photosynthesis? Chloroplast. What do we call the smallest particle composed of two or more atoms joined by chemical bonds? Molecule. In an electric circuit, what property measures how much the flow of current is obstructed? Resistance. Which ancient Greek philosopher asserted that everything is in flux? Heraclitus. What is the phenomenon in which the temperature remains constant while a liquid turns into a gas upon heating? Boiling. What is the name of the world's highest mountain range, located in Asia? Himalayas. What is the political alliance formed by three powerful men at the end of the Roman Republic called? Triumvirate. How many symphonies did Beethoven compose in total? 9. What is the name of the battle in 1815 in Belgium where Napoleon suffered his final defeat? Battle of Waterloo. What do we call the change of state from liquid to solid? Solidification. In art, what is the technique of depicting an object smaller than its actual size? Proportional reduction. In an electric circuit, what device serves as the source that enables electricity to be used? Power source. Which planet in the solar system has a reddish surface and is home to the enormous volcano Olympus Mons? Mars. In art, what is the technique of rendering light and shadow with smooth gradation? Chiaroscuro. What do we call the level at which the body performs functions such as digestion, absorption, and circulation? Organ system. Which layer of Earth's atmosphere contains the ozone layer that absorbs ultraviolet radiation? Stratosphere. What do we call the change of state from gas to liquid? Condensation. In baseball, what do we call the act of a pitcher throwing the ball to the batter? Pitching. In chemistry, what do we call a particle that has gained or lost electrons and thus carries an electric charge? Ion. Land makes up about 29% of Earth's surface. What do we call the large landmasses that make up this portion? Continents. Who is the author of the novel Les Miserables and a giant of French literature? Victor Hugo. Which city in the Peloponnese was the site of the ancient Olympic Games? Olympia. What do we call a solution in which no more solute can dissolve and excess solute settles at the bottom? Saturated solution. What is the mode of heat transfer in which thermal energy is passed by direct contact? Conduction. What substance is used by living organisms to transmit hereditary traits to their offspring? DNA. In Greek mythology, what is the Roman name of Hades, the god of the underworld? Pluto. What do we call a physical quantity that has both magnitude and direction? Vector. What do we call a large-scale orchestral work, one of the core genres of classical music? Symphony. Thanks for watching all the way through. Share your thoughts with us in the comments. Your subscription and likes really support us in making more quiz videos.